Lieutenant Hae-Yun Park stood at the window of the space station, looking at the stars. She was shorter than most military officers, but her eyes showed a sharp mind. Today was supposed to be a normal day at her post on Earth's Defense Command. Instead, she had just received news that would change her life forever. "Lieutenant Park, please report to the main conference room," the computer announced. Her heart beat faster, but she kept her face calm. The aliens had arrived 3 months ago, bringing both good news and bad news. The good news was that humans were not alone in the universe. The bad news was that a dangerous empire called the Drachnids was coming to attack Earth. Hae-Yun walked down the bright white hallways of the station. Other officers moved out of her way, giving her proud smiles. Everyone knew she was one of Earth's best strategic commanders, even though she was only 30 years old. What they didn't know was that she had just been chosen as humanity's representative in the Galactic Defense Coalition. The conference room doors opened with a soft hiss. Inside, 3 alien representatives waited with Earth's military leaders. The aliens were all much bigger than any human. One looked like a tall blue crystal that could think and talk. Another had 4 arms and skin like metal. The third one glowed slightly and floated above its chair. General Thompson stood up. "Lieutenant Park, meet the Coalition Council. They're here because of your perfect scores in the tactical simulations." The crystal alien made a sound like bells ringing. "This is the chosen commander, but she is so fragile." The word hung in the air like an insult. Hae-Yun stayed calm. She had faced out before. "With respect, council members, strength comes in many forms. Humans may not be the biggest or strongest species, but we have survived and grown stronger through countless challenges." The 4-armed alien tapped its metal fingers on the table. Pretty words, but the Drachnid Empire crushed 3 advanced civilizations in the past year. They are twice your size and 3 times as strong. Then we will have to be 4 times as smart, Hae-Yun replied. She walked to the holographic display in the center of the room and activated it. A map of the galaxy appeared, showing the Drachnid Empire's advance. "You chose me because I understand how to win even when outmatched. Let me show you." For the next hour, Hae-Yun explained her ideas for defending against the Drachnids. She showed how smaller ships could outmaneuver bigger ones. She demonstrated how Earth's experience with guerrilla warfare could work in space. With each point, the aliens' doubt began to change to interest. The glowing alien spoke for the first time. "You think differently than any commander we have had before. Perhaps that is what we need." General Thompson smiled. "Lieutenant Park has my complete trust. She will not let Earth down, or the Coalition." Hae-Yun looked at the galaxy map again. Somewhere out there, the Drachnid fleet was coming. They thought they would find an easy target. Instead, they would face a commander who had spent her whole life proving that being underestimated was an advantage. "When do I start?" she asked. The crystal alien stood up. "Immediately. The Drachnids will reach Coalition space in 3 months. We will see if your human fragility is truly a strength, Lieutenant Park." Hae-Yun nodded. She was ready to show the galaxy that true power wasn't about size or strength. It was about the mind, the will, and the courage to face impossible odds. The aliens called her fragile now, but soon they would learn what humans were truly capable of. As she left the conference room, Hae-Yun thought about all the others who had doubted her before. Each time, she had proved them wrong. Now she would do it again, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. The stars waited, and with them, the greatest challenge of her life. The Coalition Military Council room was huge, with ceiling windows showing the stars above. Hae-Yun sat at the large round table, feeling small next to the alien commanders. General Angsthar, who looked like a mountain made of purple scales, stood at the front of the room. "Today's combat simulation will test our new human commander," Angsthar said. His voice was deep and doubtful. "Lieutenant Park, show us how you would defend the Centauri sector." Hae-Yun walked to the simulation controls. Her hands didn't shake, even though she knew everyone was watching her. The holographic display came to life, showing a star system with several planets and space stations. The Drachnids always attack in a straight line, one alien commander said. They rely on their strength to break through any defense. Hei-yun nodded. Then we won't be there when they arrive. She moved her ships into position, hiding them behind moons and in asteroid fields. Let the simulation begin. The enemy ships appeared, huge red dots moving across the display. They were heading straight for the main space station, just as expected. Hei-yun waited until they were fully committed to their attack path. Now, she said, her hidden ships emerged from all directions. Small, fast ships darted between the huge Drachnid vessels, causing confusion. Larger ships provided covering fire from unexpected angles. The Drachnid formation broke apart as they tried to fight enemies coming from everywhere at once. Admiral Yungai, a respected veteran from the Stellar Republic, leaned forward. Unlike the other aliens, he looked almost human, except for his silver skin and glowing eyes. Interesting strategy, Lieutenant. You use their size against them. Big ships can't turn quickly, Hei-yun explained. And when they're busy looking in one direction, they're vulnerable from others. The simulation ended, showing a clear victory for her forces. General Bankstar growled softly. A simulation is not real combat, human. The Drachnids have destroyed many worlds. They will not be defeated by clever tricks. No, Hei-yun agreed. They will be defeated by commanders who understand that strength isn't everything. She brought up a new display, showing past Drachnid battles. Look at their victories. They always expect enemies to fight head-on. They don't know how to handle opponents who think differently. Admiral Yungai stood up. I agree with Lieutenant Park. I have fought the Drachnids before. They are powerful but predictable. We need new tactics to beat them. The room grew quiet. Admiral Yungai rarely spoke in meetings, but when he did, others listened. Hei-yun felt grateful for his support, but she knew she still had to prove herself to the others. A message flashed on the main screen. Hei-yun read it, and her face grew serious. The Drachnid fleet is moving faster than we thought. They've already conquered the outer rim sectors. How long do we have? Memksthar asked. 2 months, maybe less. Hei-yun looked at the star map. We need to prepare our defenses now. I request permission to start implementing my strategy across the coalition fleet. The alien commanders looked at each other. Finally, Memksthar nodded. Granted. But remember, human, if you fail, it's not just Earth at risk. The whole coalition depends on your command. I understand. Hei-yun stood straight and looked at each commander in turn. You think humans are fragile, but being fragile taught us to be smart, to be creative, to find ways to win even when we're not the strongest. The Drachnids won't expect that, and that's why we'll beat them. As she left the council room, Admiral Yungai followed her. They're starting to see what I see in you, Lieutenant. Keep proving them wrong. Hei-yun smiled slightly. She had won her first battle, earning the respect of at least one coalition leader. But the real war was coming, and she would need every trick and strategy she had learned to win it. Hei-yun stood in her new command center on the coalition flagship, reviewing personnel files. She needed a team she could trust, and she had chosen carefully. The door opened, and 2 humans walked in. They wore the new coalition uniforms with Earth patches on their shoulders. Lieutenant Jae-ho Kim, tactical officer, the first one said, saluting. He was tall for a human but still shorter than most aliens. Ready to serve, Commander. Lieutenant Da-hai Lee, communications specialist, the second one said. She carried several data tablets, reporting as ordered. Hei-yun nodded. Welcome to the team. We have a lot of work ahead of us. She activated the room's holographic display, showing the coalition fleet's current positions. The Drachnids will be here in less than 2 months. We need to be ready. Commander Arkstill entered the room. The alien commander had scales like armor and stood nearly 3 meters tall. Training starts in 1 hour, human. Let's see if your team can keep up with coalition standards. The training room was massive, filled with simulation pods and tactical displays. Other alien officers watched as He-Yun's team took their positions. The first test was a 12-hour combat simulation designed to prove humans lacked the endurance for space warfare. Begin simulation, Arcstill announced, expecting them to fail. Hour after hour, He-Yun and her team worked through complex battle scenarios. Jae-ho's tactical decisions were quick and precise. Da-hai coordinated with alien ships in multiple languages, keeping the fleet moving as one. He-Yun directed everything, applying the strategies she had developed. 6 hours, Arcstill said. Most humans would be exhausted by now. He-Yun didn't respond. She was focused on the simulation, moving ships to counter enemy attacks. Her team showed no signs of stopping. They had trained for this, prepared for the doubts and challenges. 9 hours passed. Then 10, 11. The alien officers whispered among themselves, surprised by the humans' endurance. Finally, the 12-hour mark arrived. Simulation complete, the computer announced. Coalition forces, victory, casualty rate, 30% below average for this scenario. Arcstill studied the results. How? Humans are supposed to be fragile. We are, He-Yun said, standing straight despite her tiredness. But we're also stubborn. We prepare. We adapt. We find ways to overcome our limitations. Jae-ho displayed their battle results. We used short rotations, Commander Arcstill. When one of us was tired, another took over. We worked as a team instead of trying to match alien endurance. Interesting, Arcstill said. Perhaps there is something to learn from human tactics after all. Later, in her office, He-Yun reviewed the day's reports. Admiral Yoon-gai came to visit, bringing news from the Coalition Council. You impressed them today, he said, not just with the victory, but with how you achieved it. Working around human limitations instead of trying to pretend they don't exist. That was clever. We have to be clever, He-Yun replied. The Drachnids are coming, and they're stronger than us in every physical way. But they've never fought humans before. They don't know what we can do. Admiral Yoon-gai nodded. I've fought in many wars, Commander Park. Sometimes the strongest warriors lose because they never learn to be creative. They never had to. He looked out at the stars. The Drachnids are coming, yes, but now I think we might be ready for them. He-Yun turned back to her work. Her team had proved themselves today, but it was just the beginning. The real test would come when the Drachnids arrived. She would be ready. They would all be ready. The emergency alarm woke He-Yun at midnight. She rushed to the command center, where her team was already waiting. The main screen showed a coalition outpost under attack. Drachnid ships detected at Outpost 7, Da-hai reported. Her voice was calm, but her hands moved quickly over the communications panel. 3 heavy cruisers and 6 destroyers. This is it, He-Yun said. They're testing our defenses. She turned to Jae-ho. Status of our nearest forces. 2 coalition patrol groups within range, Jae-ho answered. But they're standard formation ships, too slow to reach the outpost in time. Commander Arcstill entered the command center. We should send our heavy cruisers to meet them head-on. It's the traditional response. No, He-Yun said. That's exactly what they expect. She studied the tactical display. Jae-ho, call up the outpost's maintenance fleet. Maintenance fleet? Arcstill asked. Those are repair ships and cargo vessels. They're not combat units. He-Yun pointed to the display. Look at their positions. They're small, fast, and already near the outpost. No one would expect them to fight. She opened a channel to the maintenance fleet. This is Commander Park. I need volunteers for an emergency operation. The maintenance crews responded immediately. They were support staff, not soldiers, but they were ready to help. He-Yun quickly explained her plan. The Drachnids think they're attacking the helpless outpost. she told her team. Let's show them how humans turn weakness into strength. The battle began as the Drachnid ships approached the outpost. They moved in a tight formation, their huge ships ready to destroy anything in their path. But instead of finding empty space, they encountered a cloud of small maintenance vessels. Now, He-Yun ordered. The maintenance ships darted between the Drachnid vessels, using their repair tools in ways they were never designed for. Maintenance beams cut power lines. Cargo tractors pulled ships off course. Repair drones overwhelmed targeting systems. They're breaking formation, Jaiho reported. Their combat coordination is disrupted. Phase 2, He-Yun commanded. The two coalition patrol groups arrived, catching the disorganized Drachnid ships in a crossfire. Without their tight formation, the enemy's superior firepower was wasted. Drachnid ships are retreating, Dahai announced. Outpost 7 is safe. No coalition ships lost. The command center erupted in cheers. Even Arkstil looked impressed. Using maintenance ships as weapons, no traditional commander would have thought of that. Admiral Yumgi's image appeared on the main screen. Excellent work, Commander Park. The Coalition Council is already discussing your tactics. You've shown them something new today. He-Yun nodded, but she remained serious. This was just a test attack. The Drachnids wanted to see how we would respond. Next time, they'll be better prepared. Then we'll be ready with more surprises, Jaiho said. They may be stronger, but humans know how to adapt. Later, He-Yun wrote in her command log, "Today we won because the enemy underestimated us. They saw maintenance crews as harmless support staff. They saw human ingenuity as a weakness. Their mistake was thinking that being fragile means being helpless. We proved them wrong." She looked out at the stars, knowing the real war was just beginning. The Drachnids would return with bigger ships and better plans, but now they knew that fighting humans meant expecting the unexpected. It was a lesson they would learn again and again. He-Yun walked through the Coalition's Weapon Development Center with Tai-Wan Choi, Earth's top weapons specialist. The large room was filled with alien technology that towered over them. Engineers from different species worked on massive cannons and energy shields. "Their weapons are impressive," Tai-Wan said, examining a giant laser cannon. "But they all follow the same idea: bigger is better." "That's why we need to think differently," He-Yun replied. "Show me what you've been working on." Tai-Wan led her to his workshop, a smaller room filled with modified coalition equipment. "I've been studying how Earth's guerrilla warfare tactics could work in space." He picked up a small device. "This is a modified shield generator. Instead of creating one big shield, it makes many small, moving ones." He-Yun watched as he demonstrated. The device created dozens of small energy shields that shifted and moved unpredictably. "Like a boxer bobbing and weaving," she said, understanding immediately. "Exactly. The Drachnids rely on powerful, straight-line attacks, but they can't hit what they can't predict." Tai-Wan showed her more inventions. Each one took coalition technology and changed it to work in new ways. Admiral Yumgi joined them, his silver skin reflecting the workshop's lights. "Interesting approach," he said, watching the moving shields. "Using speed and unpredictability instead of raw power. It's how humans have always fought larger opponents," He-Yun explained. "We can't match their strength, so we find other ways to win." A group of alien engineers entered the workshop, led by Commander Arkstil. They had come to see the human modifications. At first, they looked doubtful, but as Tai-Wan demonstrated each invention, their attitude changed. "Your species thinks strangely," one engineer said, studying the shield generator, "but perhaps that is what we need. The Drachnids understand our traditional weapons. They don't understand this." He-Yun gathered everyone around a tactical display. "The Drachnids expect us to fight like you do," she told the alien engineers. "They're ready for big ships, powerful weapons, and head-on battles. But they've never fought humans before. They don't know about Earth's history of asymmetric warfare." "Tell us more," Admiral Yumgai said. The other aliens listened carefully. Throughout Earth's history, smaller forces have defeated larger ones by being creative and unpredictable, by turning the enemy's strength against them, by striking where they don't expect and disappearing before they can respond. Taiwan demonstrated more modifications. Coalition sensor arrays altered to create false readings. Cargo pods converted into stealth units. Communication systems changed to broadcast confusing signals. Each invention looks simple, He-Yun explained. The Drachnids might even think they're primitive. But together, they let us fight in ways they've never seen before. Commander Arxtil picked up one of the devices. When I first met you, I thought humans were too fragile for real warfare. Now I understand. Your fragility forced you to become smarter warriors. He-Yun nodded. We learned long ago that being strong isn't enough. You also have to be clever, adaptable, unpredictable. She looked at the modified equipment. The Drachnids think they know what they're fighting. They're wrong. As the aliens left, Admiral Yumgai stayed behind. You're changing how they think about warfare, he said, and about humans. Good, He-Yun replied. Because when the Drachnids come in force, we'll need every advantage we can get. They may be stronger, but we'll show them that strength isn't everything. The command center erupted with emergency alerts. He-Yun rushed to her station as the screens lit up with multiple distress signals. The Drachnids had launched their major offensive, attacking 5 different sectors at once. Status report, He-Yun commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos. Drachnid forces detected in sectors 7, 12, 15, 20, and 23. Dehai reported from her communication station. They're using new battle formations, much more complex than before. Jaiho's tactical display showed the enemy positions. They've learned from their last defeat. Their ships are spread out, harder to confuse with our usual tricks. Commander Arxtil entered the command center, his armored scales reflecting the red emergency lights. The Drachnids are targeting our weakest points. They think they've figured out our strategy. He-Yun studied the tactical display carefully. The enemy had indeed learned from their previous encounter. But that was exactly what she had expected. They think they know how humans fight now. That's their mistake. She opened a channel to all coalition forces. This is Commander Park. Execute Operation Shadow Step. The coalition fleet moved according to her plan. Small, fast ships darted between sectors, appearing to retreat. The Drachnids pressed their attack, following the seemingly fleeing forces. Enemy forces are pursuing as predicted, Jaiho reported. They think we're running away. He-Yun nodded. Now show them why that's a mistake. All ships, Phase 2. The retreating coalition ships suddenly changed direction. They had led the Drachnid forces into carefully prepared positions. Modified sensor arrays created false readings, making the enemy see threats that weren't there. Taiwan's shield generators activated, protecting coalition ships in unpredictable patterns. Drachnid formations are breaking up, Dehai announced. They're trying to regroup, but our electronic warfare is confusing their communications. Admiral Yoongi's image appeared on the main screen. Impressive strategy, Commander Park. You've turned their coordinated attack into 5 separate battles. That's the human way, He-Yun replied. When we can't match our enemy's strength, we change the rules of engagement. She turned to her tactical officer. Jaiho, launch our counterattack. Different tactics for each sector. Each battle zone became its own unique challenge for the Drachnids. In one sector, coalition ships used modified cargo pods as stealth units, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. In another, maintenance vessels turned repair beams into weapons, disabling enemy systems. The Drachnids are falling back in sectors 7 and 15, Jaiho reported. Their formations are completely disrupted. Commander Arxtil watched in amazement. You're not fighting 5 battles the same way. You're fighting 5 different battles at once. Humans learned long ago that flexibility beats raw power, He-Yun explained. The Drachnids expected us to have one strategy, one way of fighting. Instead, we gave them 5 different puzzles to solve at once. As the battles continued, the Drachnid forces began to retreat. They had prepared for the tactics humans had used before, but not for these new strategies. Their superior strength meant nothing against an enemy they couldn't predict or understand. All sectors reporting Drachnid withdrawal, Dahai announced. Coalition casualties minimal. The command center celebrated, but He-Yun remained focused. This was their first major attack. They'll be back, and they'll be even better prepared next time. Let them come, Arkstil said. Now I understand why the Council chose you. Humans don't just adapt to overcome their fragility. They turn it into a strength. He-Yun looked at the battle displays, already planning for the next encounter. The Drachnids had learned some of humanity's tricks today, but they still didn't understand the most important lesson. Humans were at their most dangerous when they seemed most vulnerable. The Drachnid armada appeared at the edge of Coalition space, their massive ships blocking out the stars. This was their full force. Thousands of warships ready for the final battle. The Coalition fleet gathered to meet them, led by He-Yun's command ship. Enemy fleet is 3 times larger than expected, Jai-Ho reported from his tactical station. His voice was calm, but his hands gripped the controls tightly. He-Yun studied the tactical display. The Drachnid ships formed a perfect attack pattern, learning from their previous defeats. Their formation left no obvious weaknesses to exploit. They've adapted to all our previous strategies, Commander Arkstil observed. This time, they're ready for human tactics. No, He-Yun said quietly. They're ready for the tactics we've already used. But humans have a saying. The best trick is the one your enemy thinks is impossible. She opened a channel to all Coalition ships. This is Commander Park. The enemy thinks they know what humans can do. Today, we show them how wrong they are. Execute Operation Lightning Strike. The Coalition fleet split into 3 groups. The largest group, led by Admiral Yumgai, took a defensive position. The second group, under Arkstil's command, moved to the left flank. He-Yun led the third group, the smallest ships in the fleet. Dahai, send the signal, He-Yun ordered. Dahai activated Tadawan's modified communication systems. They'd broadcast confusion and chaos across all channels, making the Coalition fleet appear disorganized and panicked. The Drachnid fleet pressed forward, exactly as He-Yun had predicted. They thought they were seeing the Coalition fleet in disarray, ready to be crushed by superior force. They're committed to their attack route, Jai-Ho reported. All ships in position. He-Yun took a deep breath. Now, her small fleet suddenly accelerated to maximum speed, heading straight for the center of the Drachnid formation. It was a move so reckless that no alien commander would have attempted it. The Drachnids hesitated, unable to believe what they were seeing. Activate all shield generators, He-Yun commanded. Taiwan's modified shields sprang to life around each ship, shifting and moving unpredictably. The Drachnids' heavy weapons couldn't lock onto the small, erratic targets. He-Yun's fleet shot through the enemy formation like a bullet through paper. Their passage broke the perfect Drachnid pattern, creating chaos in their ranks. At that moment, Admiral Yumgai's and Commander Arkstil's forces struck from both sides. Coalition forces reporting successful breakthrough, Dahai announced. Enemy fleet coordination is disrupted. The battle turned into exactly the kind of chaotic fight that humans excelled at. Small Coalition ships darted between larger Drachnid vessels, using their own size against them. Modified weapons struck from unexpected angles. The mighty Drachnid armada began to fall apart. Enemy fleet is retreating, Jai-Ho reported hours later. They're abandoning their invasion plans. We've won. The command center erupted in cheers. Admiral Yumgai's image appeared on the main screen, his silver face showing rare emotion. You did it, Commander Park. You proved that being physically strong isn't the same as being truly powerful. He-Yun looked at her crew, human and alien working together, each bringing their own strengths to the fight. We all did it, she said. We showed them that true strength comes in many forms. Commander Arkstil stepped forward. I will never again call humans fragile, he declared. You have taught us all that greatness lies not in size or strength, but in the courage to attempt the impossible. John and Sarah continued their journey through the dark forest. The trees loomed over them, blocking out most of the moonlight. Strange noises echoed in the distance, making them feel uneasy. Do you think we'll find our way out soon? Sarah asked nervously. I hope so, John replied, trying to sound brave. Let's just keep following this path. After walking for what felt like hours, they finally saw a faint light in the distance. As they got closer, they realized it was coming from the window of a small cottage. Smoke rose from the chimney. Look, maybe whoever lives there can help us, Sarah said excitedly. They approached the door, and John knocked loudly. At first there was no answer. Then slowly, the door creaked open. An old woman peered out at them suspiciously. What do you want? She demanded in a croaky voice. Please, we're lost in the woods. We just need directions back to town, John explained. The woman looked them up and down, then sighed. Very well, you may come in, but don't touch anything. She opened the door wider and motioned for them to enter. Inside, the cottage was dimly lit by candles. Strange objects and bottles filled the shelves. A black cat watched them from the corner, its eyes glowing in the candlelight. John and Sarah huddled close together, feeling spooked. The old woman rummaged through a messy pile of papers on the table. I think I have a map here somewhere, she muttered to herself. Just then, Sarah noticed something shiny poking out from under some books. Curiosity got the better of her. While the old woman's back was turned, Sarah reached for the object and picked it up. It was a golden locket engraved with mysterious symbols. As her fingers closed around the locket, the room began to spin. Wind howled, and the candles all went out, plunging them into total darkness. Sarah screamed and dropped the locket. There was a blinding flash of light. And then John and Sarah found themselves somewhere else entirely, far away from the spooky cottage and the dark woods. Had it all been just a strange dream? Or had the golden locket magically transported them? They weren't sure, but they were glad to be back in familiar surroundings. Though they couldn't shake the eerie feeling that their supernatural journey was far from over. Word count: 392.